I think that's enough. I know it's everyone's lunch break, so I won't keep you too long. Let's get this party started. So I will commence. Hi everybody, it's Jo Vadillo, and thank you for joining our webinar today. We do our lunchtime webinars. We try to keep a pretty concise time. We look at about 45 minutes with some Q&A at the back. So you've got an ability there to jump into a chat or raise your hand, and if you want to throw some Q&A or anything like, sorry, some questions, I'll do the answers to me, by all means do so. Sometimes it's easier if I hold the questions until towards the end, because I might actually wind up answering your questions throughout as well. But by all means, if you want to remain, anonymous, by all means, throw the question out there. I don't need to mention who you are, what your name is. But this is your opportunity to ask me anything. In today's topic is related to how to find the right sales agent. So when it comes, I mean, the property women, we're always talking about selling properties. But sometimes the time's right to free up an asset, free up your capital. Perhaps the market's going gangbusters, but you can start to feel it start to shift, and it's the right time to sell a property just before it goes cold, because then maybe it's another 10 years before you get another surge of capital growth. So there's a whole bunch of reasons why we sell properties. When it comes to selling your biggest asset, it's really important that you choose the right agent to partner with at that time. So let's launch into it. If you can see my head, you can minimize me, or actually I think you should be able to even just shut my face off if you don't want to be looking at me as well. But let's get started. So finding the right sales agent, and I'm just going to move a couple of things around on my screen so I can move on to the next as well. What this session is about is that we're not doing a beat up on agents by any means whatsoever. I think to a certain extent, selling agents do get a bit of a bad rap. It's like the used car salesman scenario. I think it's because you're either selling your biggest asset, or you're exchanging massive amounts of money. And when you feel slighted, a lot of people, like it just burns. So agents have developed over the years this kind of almost unfair reputation. And I work with real estate agents every day, like literally every day of the week. For the majority, they are good professional people with, a real interest in helping their vendor out. And, I can't fault most of the agents I work with. Every now and then I'll come across one that could be a little, I guess, under par, but that applies to every single industry, whether you're a surgeon or a school teacher, whatever it is. There's really, really good, and then there's average. And by and large, though, most of the agents that I deal with are really great. And on my other business where I'm a buyer's agent, of course, I deal with agents all the time, but I do often work with agents that I really like buying through, but for various reasons, I'd never sell a property through. Perhaps that their interest, and I guess that's a segue into what I'm about to tell you, is that these agents have got a fiduciary duty to look after you and care for the vendor. The vendor is who they represent. And I think that's something to be really transparent when you're buying a property as well. Those agents, it's a tough gig because they've got to build a rapport with buyers and multiple buyers. And even though their interest and primary care needs to be with the vendor, and as a buyer's agent, my primary care is with the buyer. So it's an interesting relationship, and the agents really do need to, I guess, their duty of care, retain any confidential information, like perhaps the vendor is going through a marriage breakdown and that's the reason they're selling, but they don't want anyone to know. The agent would know also what price the client is willing to sell at, but that's still their duty to get them the absolute maximum they can for a property as well. Most agents I work with, we play a little bit of a Q&A game. Like I'll try and ask open-ended questions and they'll try and shut me down, especially when it comes to negotiating. So I guess it's, like they work hard, and most agents I work with are fantastic to deal with. But you've got to find the right one when you're selling a property, because you've got to do business with them. And they're the people that you're going to be talking to and guided by on a sale. So how do you actually source agent recommendations? Like, where do you go to? And I guess for the purpose of this webinar, I'm going to be talking to some of you who are selling an investment property, or perhaps you're looking to sell your primary primary residence. Maybe you've got an investment property in a different city or in a different state. So it makes it even more of a head scratch when you're trying to go, well, how do I actually find the right agent? Because I bought this property in Newcastle, New South Wales 6 years ago, but now I live in Adelaide and I don't even remember the name of the guy who sold it to me. So there's a number of different sources. So when you do start to sift through what those opportunities are, check the local area listing. So jump onto realestate.com.au or Domain and see if you get a bit of a feel for what agents or what agencies are really holding fort over others. So you might see there's, geez, McGrath got a big holding here in this particular area, or perhaps it's a small independent agency that's really, really strong in a particular suburb. Interestingly, Homely, I think it's homely.com.au, is massive in Canberra, but doesn't get much of a look in other cities in terms of where you would look to find an agent as well. If you're in a position to actually attend some opens, it's like being a mystery shopper, and it is the best way that you can actually get a sense of what an agent's going to be like on a sale. So if you go to an agency open, take into consideration how that team work together. Like someone's going to be at the front door taking your details down. Then you walk into the house. Are you walking through without any guidance? Is there another agent in there talking to someone but who might nod or pay attention to you? At least that you know that you're being noted. You know, will they actually make a point of coming up to you before you leave? If it's a really busy open, obviously that's the difference. But if you're seeing someone on the front door on their mobile phone, perhaps they say hi to you and don't engage with you as you walk through the property. Little things like this do help to formulate, I guess, an understanding of how they operate as well. And if you're familiar with locals, so again, if you know your neighbours or you are a local to the area, ask people their recommendations and referrals. It's quite astounding how everyone has an opinion when it comes to local area agents and who they like and who they don't like. And yeah, it's a really good way to open up a can of worms and a conversation starter as well. And you find that, yeah, like the agent has to suit your personality as well. So while someone could be really, really flashy and fantastic and everyone else rates them, it may just not fit the person you want to do business with as well. So this next site I want to take you through is called Rate My Agent. And Rate My Agent does that. It rates agents. And when you go through Rate My Agent, this is one of the ways I formulate an idea or a template of who I'm going to be speaking to when I want to start to identify 5 strong candidates for us as a selling agent. And Rate My Agent's a good way of starting this off because they give you 5-star ratings, up to 5-star ratings. And it also, you can read reviews. You identify them through your postcode or the suburb. And this particular example I've got here is Port Adelaide. And what I've been trying to identify here is, you know, who is the good agent? And if they've only got 3 reviews, but 5 stars, or someone else has got 313 reviews, but 4.8 stars, that other person could be, well, is much obviously got far more longevity in the industry, in the game, in that area. And to keep a high star rating after so many reviews is pretty impressive as well. And so I've got to keep moving these things around my screen so I can change. Now this example, again, Port Adelaide, when you go into Rate My Agent, you can also see that you can do a search by recommendations and a search by top agents by the sold properties. So for this particular example, we've got Nick from Ray White, who's not only come on top for recommendations, he's also come on top for the amount of sold properties he's got, which is a really, really good story. And if I'm selling a property in Port Adelaide, I think I need to give this cat a phone call. Basically, if he's rating that highly and he's got that many sold properties, when an agent gets that momentum of having a lot of properties on their books, they're at a lot of different open homes. People who are also thinking of selling see them perform, like the mystery shopper I was just talking about, and that's how they build their momentum in the marketplace. If they work that well with their team, that they can control that many opens, it's fantastic, and they get onto a bit of a roll, and that's where I feel that momentum is really strong. It also means that when you're selling your property, that agent is then probably going to be doing a number of open homes on a Saturday. So your buyer could be attending a different open, and Nick might just mention that there's another house about to come on the market. You really need to come and check it out. So there's just this way of building a database or building interest in your property just because they've got that volume exposure as well. So really is something to keep mindful of. I don't know why I can't switch screens without making a click sound. Realestate.com.au. My favourite. I really like using realestate.com.au. They've got a massive monopoly over most of Australia. They're expensive to advertise on, and they are a big part of why you've got heavy marketing costs when you do go to sell your property as well. But when you're looking to find an agent, they've got a dedicated space here that you can actually go in and look at agents by location, or agents by name. So if someone says, you really need to give, Bronwyn Johnson a phone call, you can just, look her up quite quickly here. And it also goes into showing, the full database, the number of property sales they've got, what their average price point is, the days on market, which is also really important. And also, again, the property numbers that they've got for the year. And the other good thing about looking here is that when you get a sense of their median sold property prices, and you kind of build a bit of a story about, are they churning and burning their marketplace, or are they getting maximum dollar outcome for that particular location as well? Perhaps they're agents that are more skewed towards listing units, and you've got a house. So there's a bit of a story you can sort of build up with the due diligence that you conduct on a desktop. Like, it really is just a matter of sitting down and spending a little bit of time before you pick up a phone, before you make any sort of engagement with an agent as well. So some years ago, I got asked if I could be someone's seller's advocate, and I kind of didn't know. I didn't say, what is it? But I just said yes, like the whole theory of like say yes and work it out. I got what it was about, but I just thought of, just wasn't a very common scenario in Australia. But being a seller's advocate is really, really popular in America. And also in America, the agents over there get like 6% for a listing. So it's not uncommon for them to do big 50-50 splits on commissions with referral partners as well. So the whole idea of a seller's advocacy service is only just starting to grow momentum now in Australia. And now there's dedicated portals and other businesses like openagent.com.au where their primary task is an algorithm where you can put in a postcode, and that machine does all the siphons through all the different agents in an area, and you'll even get a phone call from them. And the way they make money is by doing an affiliate commission split. So our seller's advocacy service is complementary to you, the end user, as well. So that's one way you can source an agent, and it's free because what they do is they take and as does my company, we take a 20% split, 80-20 split on the agent's commission upon successful settlement of a property. And this business is only just one of a few. Localagentfinder.com.au is another one. You can see there the sample, the tablet, where it does a breakdown of the agents and how many properties are sold and the numbers, et cetera, and they do the search for you. I haven't used this site. I actually haven't used really either. I've played around with them, but so I've got actually no user feedback on this particular site, but it is a way for you to get a bit of a shopping list going. And the way these guys make money is by taking a service fee of 0.375% of the sale price of the property, and that's a cost to the agent, not a cost to you. And most agents will quite happily take 80% of something versus 100% of nothing. It's very, very commonplace to do affiliate referrals like this. So that's the reason these sorts of businesses are gaining traction now in the marketplace. So how do you know if the agent is the right fit for you? Because, I might click really well with one, and if I'm a seller's advocate, I've got to be saying to you, look, you really got to call Bob from McGrath or Sue from LJ Hooker. And, these are the people that I've identified as being the strongest one for you. And I guess the outcome is that you might then have, as a seller, you need to make the end decision. That is your end game. It's you making that final choice, who you want to list the property with as well. So you need to have a conversation. Now, the days of, I guess, it's an investment property, they may not come in to you and sit down and do a big full presentation on how they operate. A lot of things can be conducted over the phone now to get a sense and a feel, but have that conversation before you spend time to meet in person. You can do a ton of due diligence without even leaving even taking your pajamas off. Like it's a very easy way of doing things. You get a really good sense of a person with their communication skills on the phone, how soon they call you back, because the experience you have is going to be the same experience as a buyer inquiry is going to be also. And it's also really important to, I guess, nail a few of the questions before you actually decide to meet in person. Let them know that there's competition. Let agents know, look, I'm not going to just speak to yourself. I've got a couple of different people on the books, and I'm going to be interviewing a few people for my property listing. So here are some of the questions that you can ask when you go through the process. Ask the question. These are actually taken from the Excel documents that we put together when we talk to someone. So we've got our client, their address, and then break it down by agent's name, links to their website, links to their listing on realestate.com.au, links to their Rate My Agency review, what their statistics have been in the last 12 months. If it's really, really low, but they come up glowing, find out maybe they were on maternity leave or had taken a significant holiday. So there's, obviously look into the numbers. I look at the star rating and also I read some of the reviews to get a bit of a sense of somebody as well. And then you get into it. What is the standard commission fee? What is, would you recommend an auction or a private treaty? What's your perception of the market at the moment? Which is a really important question as well, because you might have a unit that's in an area or a market that's oversupplied with units. So you need to sort of get a bit of a sense of what would they do differently to market your unit when you're, I guess, one of a greater majority. Database. The question around the database is a really strong one and something I really suggest that you ask an agent. So when agents of agencies have got databases of past buyers, people who have gone to their open homes, and they build on this. And it's what's really good about the database is often they can throw out your property to an in-house database before it goes on Real Estate or Domain. And you can sometimes negotiate your marketing costs based on this. If you know what figure you want to achieve for a property, you can actually suggest that they do a bit of off-market marketing for you, and if you achieve that price, then perhaps you can save yourself $4,000 or $5,000 off not having to be on the major online portals as well. A really big database is a big bonus, especially if they've got a big social media following as well. I notice now a lot of agents have got good Facebook pages and they do little sneaky pre-release promotions on their Facebook group as well. The other thing about a database is if you go with a larger agency like a Rain and Horn or LJ Hooker, like something with a national presence, that you can also tap into their database on a national scale as well. So you're not just getting the local agency, you're tapping into the wider pool of thousands of potential client, I guess buyers for you as well, depending on what properties you're offering. And I guess if your agent is the local area expert, then they would understand, if it's a private treaty or an auction is going to be more suitable and also suitable for your house type. You can absolutely say no way to an auction. If an auction is just too much of too confrontational, stressful, not the way you want to go, you can definitely, you can guide that, but they are the area experts and they might say, you've got a really large parcel of land here. If we throw it to an auction, we may open the doors to developers. And once there's a few people wanting to bid on that, that's where you really can get some really strong returns as well. And I guess, the question would be, how long do you think it might take to sell a 5-bedroom house in this area or a 3-bedroom unit, something that might be a little bit different, and just ask them the questions, try and assess where their feedback is, on that. So negotiating the commissions and the marketing. Got a cough. Excuse me. So I guess one of the things I really want to say that don't always jump on the cheapest, because sometimes that's what you might get. So marketing can be a harder one to negotiate on unless you cut out something, and most agencies don't have a margin in the marketing. So I'll break this down a little bit clearer for you as well. I like incentive scheme commissions with agents. So you ring up and go, what's your flat rate? 2.5% plus GST or including GST, and obviously regional areas tend to be higher than cities. You know, a really average house might sell for $1 million in the city, but a really good house might sell for 800,000 in the regions. So yeah, so that percentage, make sure if you're a Sydney, Melbourne, you know, seller and you've got a regional location investment property, understand that they get a much smaller piece of pie when it comes down to it. The incentive scheme is like a scale, so that you know, in this example, I've got $600,000. So if you are meeting with an agent and your house is sitting around that 600 figure, they might offer you a base price up to that, and then you do an incentivized figure that goes up. So anything over 600 but south of 650, you will pay them more. And then as a massive stretch target, which is possible that they won't get it, but to give them that extra push. And so you're incentivizing the agent to go out and do the best that they can by you as well. So I really like that incentivized scale system when it comes to selling a property, because I'd be quite happy if my agent's already, you know, absolutely smashed that the number I was expecting to get, that they get a little bit of something extra, and it makes them work harder. Like that competition is really important for human nature. To, you know, it's good. Marketing costs, I think if you were to cut back on marketing expenses, cut back on things like newspaper or press, media, or any print media, don't cut out too much on I like getting a floor plan done. I find it annoying when I look at a property and I can't see a floor plan, and they only cost $100 something. Getting professional photos taken is so important, and I still see houses for sale where the agents obviously come in with their iPhone, toilet seats up, photos are blurred. It's just, you know, tenants are clearly living there, clothes are on the line. You know, it's not a good look, and it just cheapens the whole look and feel. So I'm not a massive fan of, I think you need to spend a little bit of money. And it's not that much. The photography is not that much either. So floor plan, photography, real estate, and domain. So you can pick one or the other, or both. I so strongly recommend you be on both platforms, because some people will only have their go-to. Realestate.com is their go-to, domain's their go-to. Some areas, one site's stronger than others, but I think it's really important to have your advertising across both platforms as well. And these, as I said, the margins are not great for agencies. Like, they're not making money off you advertising. Realestate.com.au is expensive to advertise on, but you need to have that presence as well. And part of the marketing, which should always be free, is access to the database, you know, your email send outs and all the rest. I think it's nice if you've got a good quality property, you know, get the A4, you know, cut printouts and everything that they can hand out at opens as well. I was asked by Debbie, I did say I was going to answer this question for her during the presentation, what my thoughts were about, move my head, what my thoughts are about the Purple Bricks model, where it's a one fit, it's a one cost locked in fee. I think based on what I was just saying about the incentivized scheme, I don't think this model is particularly great. I understand that you save money on commission if they've got a set fee, like if it's a set percentage of it's $6,000 or $10,000 to sell a property. Purple Bricks is now, they announced in May that they're going to get out of the Australian market. It didn't work that well, but in this article published only a week ago, it says they're opening up another business like it, where it's a fixed fee model. And the problem I see, and it comes down again to that human nature, is that it doesn't matter whether they work really hard or not really hard, or get you the best price or not quite the best price, they get the same commission fee. And when Sydney was going gangbusters, and I think it would have been around late 2016, I was looking at a property in an area that's quite blue chip blue ribbon, where a house entry, you'd be lucky to get a house for under $2 million. And one of those houses on the market was listed with a company with a purple logo, and I couldn't get in to see it. And the agent was kind of like, well, what do you want to know? And I could not get the guy to come and show me the interior of this house. And it's like, I've got a buyer, I want the house, but, you know, you need to show it to me. And I just, my take on that was that this owner was clearly trying to curb expenses and outgoings, but I think did himself or herself a disservice by listing with a company that just didn't have the same, it didn't match. It was certainly in an area that did call for a higher caliber selling team, and it didn't have it. And look, I'm not surprised that it's not really working out. I was also asked about people doing the whole, what do you call it, the owner, selling for sale by owner. I'm not, again, I just, you know, unless your background is in real estate, and even then it's not always as, it's not always the best way to do things. When I sell a property, I use a professional to sell a property. I don't have the database of local buyers, you know. I don't have the team of suits to be there on the weekend and do the opens and all the rest. It's you've got to go with the people whose zone of genius is in that space. And if this is your biggest asset and you want to maximize your returns, this is the way you've got to do it. You've got to play the game. And just, I know commissions seem like they are taking a big chunk of money from the settlement fee, but you're not paying the agent for that 45-minute opens on Saturdays. What you're paying for is the years of experience they've got behind them, the size of the database, the size of the exposure. All day Monday, they're picking up the phone, ringing everyone who went through that property, and they are working it. And that's what you are paying the money for them. So I don't even know whatever happened to that house. For those of you in Sydney who know Pymble, I don't actually know what happened to that house, but I had a buyer that wanted to see it and I couldn't get into it. So I guess it's one of those things. It's a seller beware. Let me get to the next one. To stage or not to stage. I guess it depends on your caliber of your property and where you're selling it, but I'm a big advocate for a staged property. And if you spend, and the budget could be, I do know people can do a partial staging for a lot less, but look at the difference with the images, the before and after images. And I just want to give kudos to this lady's business, she's in Sydney, stagingdesigns.com.au, Demetra. She's allowed me to share these images with you guys. She does the finishes are amazing. Like, you know, she's got access to everything in the warehouse. She has the sense of color, the ability to show a property in its best light. Even if you were just to stage the master in a living space, or just say you've got a really obscure long lounge room, living area. So it's really odd, but it's really long. So you have someone come in and with furnishings to sort of give it a purpose and an emotional touch to it as well. And even though I'm a professional property buyer, I still walk into these staged homes and start to go, oh, look at that. And you start to touch, like, you know, they're beautiful furnishings everywhere as well. And they do bring in that emotional touch to a property that would otherwise look like, as the picture on the left, that, you know, grandma and grandpa still live there. The other thing about staging properties, even in especially in a downturning market, your days on market are quicker. They do move quicker. They are, you do get more money for it. So it's just, when I go to a house that is staged, my first thought often is bugger, the vendors are smart, because I know that they've invested the money into doing this, and that they know they're going to get the top dollar they can for this particular property. I recommended a client once sell a property staged because their lounge room faced a main road. And if you walked into the empty lounge room, which it was empty, your eyes would automatically turn towards the traffic and the noise. Like, you can't kill the noise entirely, but an empty room, a furnished room is going to absorb some of those sounds quicker than an empty room. So, you know, I think their budget might have been $2,500, and we just furnished the master and the living space and a dining area. So I'm a huge advocate for staging. I do think it's a really worthwhile investment. And it just brings in warmth. I mean, so we've got, obviously here the image on the left, there's the furniture, there's left dents in the carpet. It's just a sparse room, but then you furnish it and it brings in a sense of life and energy to the space as well. And it's beautiful. Like, it makes such a big difference. And people want to walk into a house, especially owner occupiers, and go, wow, you know, this is what I can achieve. This is the house that I'm going to buy. And it absolutely works, hands down works. So, the difference in staging price, so most property stages You can keep the furniture for 4 to 5 weeks, I think it is. And sometimes they'll let, if it hasn't sold still and they don't need it, they'll leave it there as opposed to moving it back to a warehouse. But and you'd be looking at a budget. I do know, as I said, someone was probably around $1,000, but I'd say the best pricing budget be looking at 2,000 plus. And obviously, if you've got a super high-end house, you're going to be looking at more than that, but you're going to get the returns, and it's important to do. One thing I'll say about, sorry, this is a slide that just blows your head off, but arm your agent with the tools to sell your property. So an agent will and should know everything around what's sold, when it's sold, why it's sold for so much. You know, that they understand the local area, where the school is, where the shops are, you know, all the rest. But arm your agent with the tools to sell your property, meaning tell them how long ago you last renovated. Let them know, you know, we know for a fact the council has said that the granny flat can be built in the backyard. And whilst that's not the town planner, but, you know, let them know it's a potential. Tell them about the hot water system being 18 months old, or that the property always keeps its cool in summer or warmth in winter, you know, that it takes you 7 minutes to walk the kids to the local school. You never run out of hot water. If you're selling in winter, go out the backyard and go, look at this frangipani tree. I love sitting underneath that in spring and reading and all the rest. So that then the agent regurgitates everything that you've educated them on and then sells the bigger picture to help with it when they sell it to a buyer as well. So it's really, really important to keep them, let them know, so then they can use those tools to then help sell the property as well. And highlight your expectations. So it's really, really important to not tell them that you're selling a property because you've got some sort of financial stress, or you've got, well, look, it's up to your discretion if you want to share that, you know, perhaps it's a marriage breakdown, or perhaps, I don't know, you've got an ATO debt and you want to get rid of it. Whatever your story is, be selective on what you say, but don't ever come across as being particularly desperate. But you could turn around at this time of year and say, my expectations are this property is going to be sold and settled before Christmas. So, you know, tick, tick, you've got to get moving. And yeah, really, time-wise, if you want to sell before Christmas and you're thinking of putting the house on the market, now's the time to, I guess, initiate that. Highlight your expectations. So you could say, what do you think my house is worth? And they give you a price and you go, well, based on my research, I'm seeing this. So, you know, have those conversations, but remember they're working for you and this is a business for you as well. Like, this is you making the maximum you can in the current market on the property as well. So it's really, I guess the idea is that you work in conjunction with one another, but challenge them on what they're saying and why. Sometimes they know insider information that you may not be aware of. Why that house down the road sold for 1.5 is because, or why it didn't sell for very much money is because it's got, you know, an approval to build a block of units behind it or something like that. So there's many, many insights that they would have to an area that you're probably, as a non-property mover and shaker, aware of sometimes, or possible. So what to be concerned about? In the same way you don't want an agent coming in and undervaluing your property, if you feel that's the case, you also don't want an agent to provide massive promises that are unrealistic. So, for example, there's a terminology like to buy the listing, and that's when an agent will come in, tell you what you want to hear. You want to hear the top dollar. You think it's fantastic. They're confident as anything. You're confident in them. Sign up, and after your second open, they start to wind back the clock. Oh, look, you know, we didn't get many people through. We think it might be too high. The market's turning. You know, the banks aren't lending as much money, et cetera, et cetera. So you need to provide expectations, but at the same time, just be wary if the promises do seem not particular, perhaps a bit surreal, given that the current climate is what it is in your particular area. Look, you know, the other thing is that a lot of agents will work as a team. They'll have juniors or perhaps a co-associate that they work with, and they'll come in, and the question you need to make sure is that, are they just the hero, and will they be there at the open? So you don't want to sign up because you think you're going to be getting the hero, and then on the open day you get 2 juniors in your house. So that's a question that's really, really important to ask as well, because obviously you want the person who's got that longevity in the area and who is the person that's working the room. It's fine if the juniors are on the door, but you want that other person to be working the room when you've got people for open inspections. Yeah, be realistic about your numbers as well. If an agent's giving you feedback that you might want X, but he's seen a lot of Y in the area in terms of dollar amount, if you list it too high, the listing could well and truly die. And there's a reason that they say that list it low, watch it go. Was it put it too high, watch it die, something like that. If you list it, maybe they might do a what do you call, like a window of time, like a pricing window where it's got offers between 650 and 685, or 780 and 820, so that they're opening up the avenue there for people to come on board and test the market a little bit. I know in New South Wales we can't say offers over anymore. So if you say offers over $800,000, that's still done in other states, but it's actually now, since Sydney went crazy in the price surge, a lot of people were finding that they're attending auctions and spending money on pest and building reports and, getting excited about it, only to find at auction the price guide was where just the number exceeded so much so that there was starting to become a massive amount of complaints about the price guide. So that's the reason Sydney or New South Wales is now no longer do offers over. But be guided by the expert. And if you don't like the idea of what they're suggesting, work with them around it. And of course, most agents are hungry for the sale. You've got to read that in when they're talking to you. You want them to be hungry for the sale, but not I guess, to shut you out of getting a maximum exposure to buyers as well. So have I kept my time pretty good? Oh, yeah, not bad at all. If you've got any questions, by all means, this is the time to hit me up. But the realm of everything I've covered is, ask the questions, negotiate on your commission as well, which you're well and truly in a position to do. I love the incentivized scale of commissions, so I can get those numbers up as well, or get the agents to bring their numbers up. And do a sneaky check if you can, if you're in the area, if a friend's in the area, ask them to do mystery shopper at their opens to get a sense of what's going on. Question from Debbie. Yeah, so what's your opinion on upside, one-off fee, no commission agents when selling? Your opinion on upside? Oh, okay, I don't know what upside is unless that's a business, but the one-off fee, no commission agents when selling. Yeah, look, I'm not huge. I think I mentioned that before. I'm not a huge advocate for fixed fees. I don't know about the no commission. I'm not quite sure what a no commission is, unless it's just a flat fee. Yeah, and I guess in that I'll put like the owner, the sell by owner or for sale by owner in a similar bracket. The other thing I've noticed that when I've gone to opens and the owner has been present, it's awkward. And I think a lot of agents feel that as well, not only because it's their client, but I've actually had an owner walk and follow me around from room to room, and I get it, they're trying to sell the house to me, but it actually just makes me feel really uncomfortable. And I can handle most things, but I think that's the problem when you're the owner of the property. It's emotional, it's your money, and I think there's a level of you need to outsource it to somebody else to do the work and to let them do their job. And I think that's really important when you're at your own open home. I mean, I'm sure you can go and have a visit, but maybe send in a friend. Any other questions? Oh, yeah, Tamara. Hi, Tamara. Should I be kicking my tenants out before putting the property on the market? That's a brilliant question. Kind of. My opinion on that, I have sold with tenants there, but the tenants had really nice furniture. They were good. They were open to us selling. I was going to stage it, but the property market was so buoyant, I didn't feel that I was doing myself a disservice by not having professional staging. The tenants, I gave them monetary benefits to letting me have access whenever the agent needed it, obviously with courtesy, courtesy notice periods. But if your tenants, if your tenants don't have top end furniture, if they're, and this happens quite a lot when I'm trying to get access, the agent goes, oh, the tenants have been really difficult, we can't get in, they've only let us show us on Saturday. I've actually been at open homes when the tenants still been in bed at like 11 on Saturdays. That was really gross, that particular one. It was a standout. Oh, I went to an open home once when there was a child left in the room. So we all climbed into a room, went into a room, and this boy would have been about 9 or 10. He was asleep in bed. So his mum wasn't there. He seemed pretty startled to have a room full of adults looking at him. Really kooky stuff goes on out there. So I guess the question, excuse me, would I kick tenants out? Yeah, if you can handle holding costs, absolutely. And the other benefit of kicking tenants out, shouldn't they kicking tenants out? If the lease expires and they've got due notice. The benefit of getting rid of your tenants is that, yes, you can stage it. You've got access whenever you want it. You can come in and freshen up the paint or whatever might need to be done. It allows for you to have 100% control over the property, but it also means you've not segmented your market. And this is a mistake I see people do. They go, oh, I've got a tenant in for 12 months. They're fantastic tenants. That just means you've cut out every single owner-occupier, potential buyer who needs a house right now. First homeowners, people who are pregnant with their second child looking to go from a unit to a house, or all these different scenarios. So be really mindful. I know it's great when you've got that having the income's fantastic, but if it's not, I think it's also segmenting your market a little bit for who could potentially be your buyer. Hey Charlene, what's the best time to sell in the new year? After Australia Day. Never before Australia Day. Definitely. If you're looking to put it on the market, if you're going to do it before, you could try and start your November or something like that for your sale, and therefore have the settlement after around the first week of January, some period like that. But if you haven't listed a house for sale by the beginning of December and you don't have to sell it, it's a bit of a dead period of time. People still need to sell. They still die. They still get divorced. They still have to move on because of financial reasons. But I generally find that the market really is, there's a lot of stale stock that sits on the market over that December, January period. Banks have got skeletal staff numbers. There's solicitors are on holidays. Your buyers are on holidays. Everyone's drinking and buying Christmas presents at Westfields. They're not buying houses. It's a really lackluster time. So technically in the new year, I would always recommend that you hold fort until after Australia Day, if it's possible. You can get things ramped up prior to that though. Joe, what options do you have when an agent has done the wrong thing by you? Similar to all the things you've mentioned, not working the crowd and Noshima. Oh, sorry that's happened. Far out. Office of Fair Trade. I think it's the Office of Fair Trade would be your starting point. I feel for you. That's really hard, and it's very disappointing. I've saw a celebrity auctioneer once. I went to an auction and he doesn't even live in Sydney, and he's known for being on the block and everything like that. And he was the auctioneer of this. They probably paid a ton of money to have him there. And he was off his game. Like, you could clearly see the guy was sick. Like, he must have had the flu. Like, he just didn't look well or sound well at all, but he showed up. But, and I remember thinking, oh, that wasn't cool. Like, he was just unwell. So, yeah, so Office of Fair Trade, I don't know what recourse you might have. That's the only problem, because it might come down to being an indemnity insurance or professional insurance issue for you. I know you satisfaction by giving them low reviews on Rate My Agent and Google and all the rest, but that doesn't stop the fact that you short-shifted a big percentage of money as well. If anyone else knows anything about that, jump in the Q&A and let me know, because I'm just trying to think of another source. You could try real estate institutes as well, so REI, NSW, and ask them the question. I don't know whether you could sue them. I just don't know if there's enough evidence. That'll be the problem. And I don't know if you got down to that thing of a litigation scenario, would it cost you more money and you may not win anyway? So I'm really sorry that has actually happened to you. Okay, Ellie has asked, should I be paying for the backlit signboards? I can't see how they will help my sale. Depends on your street. Yeah, look, I think they look nice and they certainly grab people's attention. Depends on the market, depends on the street. If you're in a really quiet cul-de-sac, no. A signboard just to say, hey, here it is, this is the house that's on the market for your open homes. But if you're on a decent thoroughfare road, the backlit really does get people's attention. And I don't know the difference in price, what you're comparing it to. So, and in a market where houses are selling really good, like I've noticed a lot of pockets of Sydney are selling really well for that sort of entry-level family homes at the moment because there's no stock. And so it's creating this economic forces of its own. So you probably wouldn't need to invest too much money into a signboard because those who are looking, you know, all the buyers are scrambling over the same housing stock. And I spoke to an agent yesterday who said that normally there's about 30 houses on the market in this particular location, and those numbers are about 10 right now. So that the buyer numbers are there, it's just there's no stock. So it's actually pushing prices up. So good for the sellers at the moment in that regard. Would you get your house independently valued before you decide to sell? Maybe. Look, it's up to you, really. Someone did this last week, and I don't know. I found it was expensive, the quote that they got. I know they were asking my opinion on that, and it's a very unusual parcel of land that they're buying. And it was, well, it doesn't matter if you get your property independently valued and the valuer says it's worth 600, but the selling agent says you'll be lucky to get 550. It doesn't matter what the valuer's personal opinion might be on it. That's kind of, if it's a property you can't pinpoint the price and it's really different or unique or something like that, you could do that to help guide a pricing estimate. It might help get your price up if someone's coming through and offering a price and they're like, oh, look, a professional valuer has it at this. So that's another opportunity. The buyer that did a valuation, I think they paid like $880 or something like that for a private valuation. And when that valuation came in, it does no good to then say to the owner, hey, it's only valued at this, because the owner is locked in to a price point. And this property actually passed in much lower earlier this year and they didn't sell still. So I don't know, it's a hard one to answer that one. I think if your property is particularly unique, it's probably not the worst thing in the world, but if it's a fairly stock standard opportunity or offering, I think you might be able to find comparison sales in the last 3 to 6 months in that local area. It probably wouldn't be a benefit to you, I think, is my answer on that as well. So I hope I've answered all the questions. I'm just running through. Okay, yeah, I think I've got everyone's questions. By all means, if you do have any more, you can just email me, jo@propertywomen.com.au. We do offer the seller's advocacy service. That is a service that is complimentary to you. If you're looking to sell, it doesn't matter where you're selling as well. It's very much a due diligence phone call, desktop, research tools as well. I've also got the benefit of having software like RP data at my disposal. And as I was talking before about the comparison market sales, I can see what has sold in the last 3 to 6 months very quickly in certain areas and give you, I guess, an idea or help those parameters as well to see what's moving. Yeah, I think that's kind of me in a nutshell. The reason I chose today's topic is because we've been getting a lot of inquiries for this particular role, and it's quite interesting that This has ramped up a little bit of late, and look, people are busy, they're time poor, it doesn't cost you anything to outsource it. So that's always nice. We get a lot of people who have got older parents that might still live in a certain area, but the children now live in another state or city, and they're like, I need someone there to help my parents list their house and to navigate the system, because people, you know, of a certain generation, they haven't moved for 40 years and don't understand, I know, what online presence needs to be, you know, embraced and all the rest. And it's good for them to have someone as a wingman or wingwoman on their side when they're meeting agents as well. So that's sort of how it kind of kicked off for us with the Sellers Advocacy. So I hope I've answered your questions. As I said, drop me an email if you've got any more questions. Thank you for joining me for today's webinar. And I look forward to seeing everybody again next time. Okay, bye for now.